Aloha once again, friends and family. Another fine day of transition. Why do people seem to start really aging and subsequently dying, 60, 70, 80? Whereas if we go back in time, not very far, people lived longer, and the further back you go, the longer they lived. And what happened? Well, the further back you go, I think people understood how reality actually works. And they realized that the subconscious mind is doing and causing almost everything in your experience. Another way to say that is what you truly believe is what manifests. So you could say all day long with your conscious mind, I am not going to age, I am not going to age, I won't age, I am not going to age. You could do that all day long and it would have absolutely no effect on your reality unless and until you got that new program or new belief or new knowing functioning in the subconscious. Because no matter what the consciousness ever thinks or says, it could just be hollow words. It could just be wishful thinking, right? Because your subconscious knows what you really believe. Or the subconscious knows what you really know. Or the subconscious knows your deepest fears. And so in our culture, in this cult, we've been given all these beliefs that have set up these programs in the subconscious mind, and so it makes absolute perfect sense that humans are dying younger and younger, because in their subconscious mind they really have all these beliefs and fears working, let us say, against them. Your environment is terrible. Oh wow, the deer's over there again. It's too far to show you though. Your environment's terrible. Your air has been destroyed. The food is awful. On and on and on like that. And people are quick to believe all that these days, because they don't realize that what applies to the masses does not necessarily apply to you. But if you throw yourself in with the rest of the NPCs in the Matrix and go along, then it's going to apply to you and it's going to manifest. Come out of her, my people, so that you will not share in her sins. And then we set up these holidays. Well, I guess birthday is not a holiday, but we celebrate birthday, the day of your birth, which is really an illusion because you lived before your birth. And someone would think, well, let's celebrate our death then, the exact same way we celebrate our birth. Nah, that's terrible to suggest. How could you think that way? But see how duped and convoluted you got? because you live after you die too. So if you're going to celebrate your birth, you might as well celebrate your death. And by celebrating your birth, you're reminding that subconscious programming that you've got going that you're getting older. And in one sense, we could say, yeah, you're getting older. You're expanding farther into your knowingness, or you're getting closer to the incorruptible world. You're attaining and applying wisdom as you're getting older. But we don't think of it like that. We think of it as this body is aging and moving ever closer to the grave. And so why would you be surprised when that manifests? Why would you be surprised that you're looking older and feeling older and thinking older and on the whole thing? We're reinforcing that programming. So I don't know, I'm not saying we should necessarily, cut out celebrating your birthday. I have no interest in celebrating birthday because I don't look at it that way. I'm changing my programming. Like I said in yesterday's video, you will regress in age towards your what's considered your prime, and if you're younger, you will increase in age until you reach your prime. So there's no reason to believe any other thing than you were designed and created to reach a prime and then sustain that. And then in doing that, you'll be able to cross seamlessly over into the incorruptible world, where you will go forward in that prime perpetually. So once again, we're coming to understand that beliefs 99% of the time do us absolutely no good, because they're incongruent with reality. And see, if your definition of reality is this incorruptible world and the way that it appears to work, then you're basically agreeing. You're saying, I come into agreement with that. Okay, then it's going to work exactly that way, because that is what you really believe. It wouldn't matter what you said with your mouth if that is what you really believe. But can we overcome the fear of going deep within the subconscious and confront and look at all these wrong beliefs that we have? See, that's tough, because if you're in an egocentric state, you don't want to, especially the older you get, you don't want to come to some realization, well, wow, everything 99% of everything I believe is completely wrong. Everything I believe is completely incongruent with the eternal self, the eternal reality of the nature of reality. See, I think humans really do like to be limited. They really do. They like to be bound. They like to be in boxes. They like to be told. They like to be given rules. Give me 10 of the top rules. And if I do okay with 8 or 9 of them, I'll feel righteous, and I'll feel like, well, none of it matters, because the deity is going to smile upon me when I transition. That's incongruent with how reality works. But you might be old, or you might consider yourself old, and you might think to yourself, I am too old now to change that wrong belief, and I don't even want to entertain the idea that it's wrong. Because without all those wrong beliefs, where would I be? I would just be lost, and I would feel ignorant, and I would feel like I, had made terrible mistakes, and I would feel like my whole life is somewhat pointless. If you get to 60, 70, 80 years old and you come to realize you don't know anything about reality, it's going to make you feel bad, probably, but it wouldn't at all, actually, if you could step beyond being that egocentric, false version of yourself. If you could recognize your true identity, because your true self, your true identity would be super joyous that you had finally saw through the illusions, finally penetrated the dupes, finally got your subconscious mind cleaned up so that you could start manifesting things that are congruent with reality. And reality, I'm going to just loosely say here, is ongoing. See, if you're dealing with something that's going away or perishing or dying, you're not dealing in reality. Now, in this corruptible world, you might say, oh, no, that's reality. We see people dying all the time. Yeah, they're dying, like the Bible says, in their sins, but they're not dying because they did some certain thing that was bad. They're dying, again, because the subconscious mind has been programmed for death. And you, the true self, have never been given the opportunity to rise up within and correct the nonsense. And stop playing the character and stop being the victim. And tap in and tune in to your powers of manifestation in reality. See, again, it all comes down to reality and non-reality. You have great power in reality, but you can only use it if you transition yourself into reality. See, if you try to use your powers that work in reality in the illusion, in the corruptible world, in the lower self, in the egocentric state, it's not going to work. And you're going to be like, nah, none of that spiritual stuff's true, and does it really work? We don't ever see anybody living, very far beyond what our current culture's beliefs are about living and dying. Oh, you don't? Yeah, you don't. But are they there? How do you know they're not there? In other words, how do you know there's not people that are 150 or even older than that right now here on this earth plane? You just assume that they're not there. Because why? They're not the majority? Because they're not in the matrix? Because they're not going along with this collective hive mind, lunatic ways of living and believing? And so it's probably not available to you, the egocentric self would think. It's not attainable for me. There's too few people attaining to it, and it would probably be too hard, and it goes through that whole cycle of everything. I'd have to admit I was wrong about virtually everything, And not only that, then I would have to go in and do the inner, hard work of reprogramming my subconscious mind so that I could manifest things congruent with reality. And people in the Matrix are quite a ways from this, but on another hand, they've gotten much closer, right? So even though we've moved closer to the everything that comes with awakening, they still got a ways to go, because again, they're not ready to give up their dogmatisms, their belief systems, their religions, and you don't have to be in a specific religion to have subconscious programming that is incongruent with reality. So it really wouldn't matter then. In this sense, we could just say it doesn't matter if you're in a religion or not. You're the effects of wrong thinking and wrong believing is still affecting you. Because a lot of people will use that as an escape. They'll say, well, I don't believe in Christianity, so therefore none of that fairy tale stuff applies to me. Well, it probably does. It probably actually does still. How does a person in such a state begin? Where do you even begin? And I can't really answer that. I can't really say where you begin or where one begins. I could make suggestions of 500 things of where you could begin. But you begin wherever you feel and believe and are led, let us say, to begin. But one of the critical elements of whether it's going to work or not, or whether you are going to be able to attain or master, is going to be directly related with your character. And when I say character, I'm not meaning NPC or physicality or body or, the character that the ego plays of I am this specific self and it's called this and its claim to fame is this, whatever that is, whether you got a PhD or whatever your vocation is, and that's about as far as you get, because if you did that, then you're successful according to the Matrix, and you can just enjoy life, enjoy the pleasures of life, and wait to die. But character, your caricature, not caricature, your character, meaning your inward character, your inward integrity, and what, bears that kind of stuff out to the self. How would I know if I'm building character? And there's, a bunch of different ways, of course, but one of them would probably be, your ability to be honest with yourself. And some people might say, oh, well, I'm a Christian. I totally do that. I totally do that. Do you? Or do you think that you do that? Do you believe that you do that? Again, you may have a subconscious program running in your subconscious that flashes the sign that says you are honest because you're a Christian. So of course you're honest. So do you, as the Christian, do you have any fear? Is anything motivating? Is any kind of fear motivating you? Well, I have Jesus within me. I've accepted Jesus, so I have no fear. I have no fear. Doesn't your book say that you should fear God? Well, that's different. Oh, okay. See how we twist and turn? See how quickly the ego wants to pretend that it really has it figured out when it doesn't? Your book says you should fear God, but you just proclaimed you had no fear. Well, I do fear God. Why do you fear God? Because it says it in the Bible. So you mindlessly have changed your tune of knowing that you shouldn't have any fear within you. You shouldn't be motivated in any way by fear. But then when somebody brings up that, oh, it's in your book that you should fear God. Oh, well, I do that. I do that. I am afraid of God. Now, why are you afraid of God? Other than, it's written in a book that you just blindly follow. And again, I'm not bashing the Bible. I quote the Bible quite a bit in my talks. There's some good wisdom in the Bible, but there's also some absolutely insane belief system programming in there. And we need to be able to discern the difference and understand how the wrong stuff that's thrown in with the truth. Again, if you mix a truth with a lie, you end up with a lie, or half truth. Well, it says in the Bible that you should not be afraid of what somebody can do to the body, but fear the one that can cast the soul into eternal damnation. Whoa! Seems like God just turned into Satan right before our eyes and ears. Because he gave you the list of commandments. He gave you your list. You wanted to be told what to do. You don't trust your own character. So you need somebody to tell you what to do, how to act, what not to do. And in your own mind, if you think that you're doing good with that, then you're dealing with that God of love. And in your own mind, if you're not doing good with that, you're dealing with that Satan version that's going to cast you. And see, if you're judging yourself that way, you're judging everybody else that way. And the whole thing is motivated from that fear that you were very slow to acknowledge. Because you are supposed to fear God. And I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you and tell you what that God that you're fearing is, really. What is it really? It's the superego. What's a superego? What does that mean? That means you, because you're identifying as your ego, you're projecting your own ego into the form of a deity that you're calling God. And those worthy of judgment according to you, according to your standard. And you might say, well, my standard is the Bible, but you don't measure up to that. So you're lying. So it's your standard. You're judging according to your version of God's standard. And so everybody that's guilty deserves what they get. But if you're on the other side and you feel like you're doing okay with the laws and the precepts and the feasts and the eat this and don't eat that and say that, does stand, sit, turn, bow, this day, that day, time, again, there's that distortion of time. On this day it's this, and on this day it's this, and on this day it's this. And so the egocentric human has gotten so twisted and tangled in the convolution that he has no idea that a lot of what he's motivated by is fear. Do you think anything in the incorruptible world is motivated by fear? Let us say it like this. Do you think there is a deity in the incorruptible world that tells you to fear it? And it subsequently also tells you to love it. Because the very first rule in your list of rules is love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. Which would be, that's a half-truth again. Why is that a half-truth? Because it's true if you can identify who God really is. But if you've been told who God is, you've been told that it's this deity, then you are striving and struggling and straining to perform for your own superego, because that's all that deity is. It's your projection. So does that deity manifest in the incorruptible world? As a whole, I'm going to say absolutely no, it does not. On the micro, remember yesterday I told you there are communities in the spirit world where you can continue playing this out until you finally awaken to how it works and let it go. So that deity still exists in the same place there that it exists here. Where is that? In your mind. And it can continue to exist in your mind when you move and transition over into the spirit world, if you have moved beyond Source's age of accountability. And like I said in the other video, you're going into the spirit world this time, whether you're ready or not. And I'm not saying all of you are. I'm not saying that. Some of you might be headed for reincarnation. But whoever of you has reached that age, you're going in, ready or not. And so knowing this, we should make ready. And we should quit playing around and entertaining these wrong beliefs that are constantly running in our subconscious mind and constantly manifesting into our reality. Most of the time, things that we really don't want. Do you want to age? Do you want to be weary? Do you want to ultimately perish? Most people don't. Most people are afraid of that. See, they don't want to do that because of fear. Again, motivated by fear. You shouldn't be motivated by fear in any way, shape, or form. And only when you go deep into your own subconscious are you going to discover where you are running fearful programs. And they're affecting your reality. And it doesn't matter if you believe this or know this. This is how it works. It's going to do what it does regardless of what your conscious mind thinks about it. You may fight against it. You may cooperate fully. You may be in denial. On and on and on. It does not matter. These things are going to happen. These things are going to manifest. These programs are going to produce something. And it can work absolutely wonderfully and beautifully for us if we have the right programs running. And again, programs loosely translated, beliefs loosely translated, knowing. So run your entire multidimensional system from your knowingness, not from your beliefs, because all that crap's been given to you by someone else and then just perpetuated down the line. They just kick the can down the line over and over and over and over. My great-grandma believed it, my grandma believed it, my mom believed it, my whole okay, you're just going to kick the can down the road. And all of it is ultimately motivated by fear. Make it another wonderful day in paradise, my beautiful friends and family. Until next time.